What is a diet break? I'm currently on a diet break for 3 days, and what it isn't is just a 3-day binge fest and just going completely off track. What it should be is an increase in carbs and an attempt to drop fatigue, get you sort of fresh physically and mentally, and also give you some useful data about how to peak. So that's what you should be going into it thinking. This is an opportunity for me to basically increase carbs. So you don't really want to increase the fats unless you're at a point where your fats are really low and you just want to bring them up to sort of 40 to 50 gram range just help with hormone production, because ideally you want to be eating 40 to 50 grams of fat a day anyway, just to help healthy hormone production. So if you have to like dip below that for a period of time, it might be worth bringing them up a little bit just for this period when you've got some extra calories, just to help get your body back in balance. But the main focus is increasing carbs. You're gonna be increasing carbs so that you can replenish all your glycogen. If you're doing a lot of cardio, you wanna be dropping the cardio as well. You wanna be giving your body as much of a chance to rest and recover as possible so you can go back into training really fresh and train really hard and keep the stimulus really high as you progress through your diet. And also a mental break. So you're just getting to eat a little bit more food, and you're not going to be losing progress. You're not eating so much food that you're going to be spilling way over and regaining a load of fat. The goal is literally just to replenish glycogen, eat at a higher amount of calories again, in the hope that some of your processes that have been slowing down, maybe you're not fidgeting as much, not moving as much, you're just feeling mentally tired, and that's making you do less. It's maybe more of like a physical manifestation of your tiredness than any like direct metabolic effects, but there will be a few metabolic effects as well. So the idea is to just give your body enough fuel that it ramps you back up again, ramps all those processes back up, so that your BMR and your NEAT and all those kind of things, all those ways you expend energy, get popped back up to their high level. So you're able to then go back into your diet, recharge basically, and burn fat more effectively and not have to cut calories as hard again. I will sit you down and show you how I've tracked it and what that means. So like what the data I'm looking for and what's useful, because both myself and my partner Mel, who's competing, have both done this diet break, and I'll show you what I'm looking at and why it's useful in terms of how it helps your competition basically. And that is one of the benefits as well of sticking with your normal meals. Because you've been dieting restricted, they're exciting enough. And if you go too off-piste, you kind of reset all of your cravings and you just become super cravey again, and you want more like chocolate, or you want desserts after every meal, and you have to then spend a whole week or whatever being like iron-willed and resetting those cravings. So that's one thing to bear in mind. If you are going to go off plan, you just got to accept that you're going to make it mentally harder for yourself for about a week or so as you get back on plan. So if you can just stick with more of the same food you like and little bits here and there, you'll find the road a lot smoother, basically. But this is reality. We've all got families, friends and stuff. So for myself personally, I was meeting up with friends, my best friend and his partner that I haven't seen in a while. And I wanted the opportunity to be able to go out and have a brunch and have a look around town. So we've got more calories, we have room to do that. So I just tried to be as sensible as I could with my choices. So I ended up eating about 2,000 calories worth of food, I would say. You have to guess it, but I would guess about 2,000. And honestly, that's so easy to do. So we went out for brunch and we just had scrambled eggs on sourdough, but it's like 3 eggs and cooked in oil, and it has some sauce on it. I think it was like hollandaise sauce, and hollandaise sauce is just like, it's just oil, it's just fatty. That's the thing that gets you. So I had basically all my fats gone in that meal, and the rest of the day I just had to eat protein and a little bit of carbs. So when you go out, it's so easy for meals to add up, so you just have to be really careful with that. I did that, shared some pancakes with Mel. We told him we didn't want the cream, so we literally just had pancakes, fruit and some maple syrup, so it was mostly carby, because the goal is to bump the carbs up basically. So we did that, and that was really nice. It's not ideal because that's not what you're going to be doing in peak week. You're not going to be going out and getting a brunch. You're just going to be upping your normal food. So to get the most accurate data possible to help you in peak week, ideally you would just up your normal meals, because that's what you're going to be doing. But this is the real world. We have other obligations, we have friends, we have family. We don't just want to completely drop off the grid. So look, factor it in. But that was one meal off, and all of my other meals across the 3 days I've increased my calories have been my normal meals with increased food. So bear that in mind. That's the goal. The goal is to get useful data, because yeah, if you're just going to go out and have to guess the amount of calories you're having and guess the ratios of fats and carbs, it's not as useful as if you can literally say, I had 600 grams extra carbs every day, and this is what happened to my weight, and this is what happened to my physique, and this is really useful and directly applicable to peak week. It ties into what I was saying. You should be eating foods you like anyway. Just because some bodybuilder eats fish, don't eat fish if you hate it. I hate fish, I don't like it, so I'm not gonna prep eating fish. I'm gonna eat chicken breasts and I'm gonna eat turkey because I like that. And whey protein, isolate at the moment just because my calories are so low, but that's what I'll eat because I like it. Don't go on a prep diet that's hell, that you hate and you have to force yourself to eat. It's just gonna make it 10 times harder. There's gotta be a food you like. Don't like fish, eat chicken. Don't like chicken, eat turkey. Don't like turkey, eat like whatever. Don't like asparagus, don't eat asparagus. Find a veg you like and stick to it. You really need to spend the time doing that. Understand that every meal and every full day of eating video and everything that people put out there, they are all options, and you are collating options for yourself to help you, not, oh my God, that's the secret to fat loss is eating those meals and I have to eat them to lose fat. No, everything is an option. All of them work as long as they put you in a calorie deficit. It's up to you to find the ones you enjoy the most to make the journey as easy as possible, because consistency over time is what wins. And you can be consistent if you set it up so that it's easier to be consistent. Your environment works, you haven't got snacks in the house, you only buy what you need, and the meals you eat, you actually like, then everything becomes a lot easier. That's the secret. The secret is find the way that you want to do it that makes it easier for you, not keep searching online for the secret and copy someone else. You should be taking bits from everyone that works for you and weaving your own tapestry out of all of the stuff that you know works, taking these options and bring them together to make what works for you. For example, guys, this is my oats meal. Don't want to tip it. If I tip it all over the table, I'll cry. If I eat a load of oats now, afterwards you should be thinking, how's that sitting in my stomach? Is it grumbly? Am I bloated? Is it fine? You want to figure these things out, because when you carb up on peak week, you're going to be eating loads of carbs, and what you want to do is get the most carbs in for the least amount of volume and bloat and everything. So you want to keep your waist really, really tight. So you need to find these things now that don't bloat you. And sometimes you can find some information out in the off season, but it's quite useful to do it within a diet, because if you've been restricting for a while, then things that you might have thought were fine in the off season because you were like always carrying a bit of bloat, a bit of inflammation, didn't really realize, might really hit you when you're dieting because you've been so restricted, your waist is small, you've not been eating much, you've been limited in the kind of things you've been eating, then suddenly something you thought was fine, actually you're like, whoa, okay, no, my stomach's really grumbly, this isn't right. That's what you want to find out. So you'll see things like oats, cream of rice, honey, raisins, date, like cyclic dextrin, which is a really good one. It's a really easy to digest kind of sugar molecule that they've modified to make it slightly more complex and slow to break down, but it's essentially sugar, so it's really easy to process. Those are quite common things for people to eat. You want to find that out. You want to be going into peak week going, oh, I know that I can handle a bowl of oats with a load of cyclic dextrin in for my carbs, and it sits really well and doesn't bloat me. That's really useful information. So, like I said, a diet break is about figuring out how many carbs you potentially need to carb up, what kind of carbs don't bloat you and sit really well, and also just the actual purpose of it to mentally and physically drop fatigue, recharge, so you can hit the ground running again with your diet. That's the goal. It's not as simple as, oh, I'm just gonna have some time off and eat a load of nice food. As with everything, there is a reason behind it and a method and something to be gained. Especially if you're competing the first time, you won't know any of this stuff. So this is really useful information. But again, if you're gonna have these diet breaks, maybe 2 or 3 within your prep, you have to factor them in. Your 12-week prep might now be a 16-week prep or a 14-week prep. So you have time to do these refeeds and then carry on again. Factor these things in and accept as well, like sometimes people forget this, that peak week, all your fat loss has to be done before peak week. You're not gonna be losing more fat then really. That's when you carb up, drop fatigue and get ready. So you actually need to be ready a week before the show. So remember that, you've got to factor in that you need to be ready a week before the show, and that if you have these potential breaks, you need to extend it. And like I said before, like it's okay to have time off. If you've got like your mum's birthday or something, having breaks isn't a problem. Having unscheduled breaks when you don't have time is a problem. So think about all these things up front. Look at your calendar. Oh, I've got my mum's birthday. I'm gonna have to go to that. Like, even if you try and be sensible, just assume you're not gonna be, because guess what? It's better to assume you're not going to be, and then if you manage to be, then you're even more on track, than assume you're going to be and then fail and then feel miserable and just mess with your head. So factor these things up front, give yourself more time, and learn what you can along the way to maximize your chance of a successful peak week, especially as someone that hasn't done it before and hasn't built up a lot of this data about themselves yet. So Mel's doing a refeed too, and she's got her first meal, which is like still pretty low fat, it's an egg white omelette, but she gets toast, which she's very, very happy about for the extra carbs. But Mel's been a really interesting one. So it's her first prep, and we upped her calories by about 400 a day on each day. And so far, the first 2 days of this diet break refeed with an extra 400 calories a day, her weight's kept going down. So this is really useful information because we know it's like nowhere near the amount it needs to be to actually fill her back out. She's still dropping weight. So when it comes to actual peak week, we're gonna have to give her way more carbs than this to actually get her weight to stop going down and for her to actually fill back out. So when she woke up this morning and the scales were down again, we were like, right, okay, I want to actually add even more carbs and extra calories because we need to get a better idea of how many carbs we actually need to peak. So yeah, first thing I did this morning when she said weight was still down was that I said, we're going to try an extra 100 grams of carbs, we're going to add extra calories in and see if that gets us closer, because we're building up data as almost a dry runs of peak. So when we go into peak week, we're not worried. We're like, we know what happens, we know what to expect, we know how to adjust. So extra carbs from Mel today. But the other things we've been doing, like I mentioned, to drop fatigue, we stopped cardio. So no cardio, just walking the dogs, and we actually reduced that a bit. So we're doing maybe only about 5,000-6,000 steps a day. It's gone over a couple of days, but reduced steps, no extra cardio. On our workouts, we've pulled a rep, so we're kind of keeping a rep in reserve, so we're not quite going as hard on the workouts. Sleep's always good, and the food's up, so that's what we've done. Guys, we are back in the spreadsheet, and if you haven't seen this already, I'll link the video above. This is my comp prep plan spreadsheet that I use for myself and clients that I'm prepping. It holds all the data that's really, really useful to track progress through prep and make adjustments to ensure you have a really smooth prep, basically. And it has all of the sort of weight data and everything in, but watch the other video to see that. We're gonna talk about the refeed now. So I bumped my calories up quite a lot. I had some experience with this from last prep and doing the peak week and upping my carbs then as to how much I thought I would need. So I did quite big jumps. I sort of went from, I was on 190 grams of carbs on rest days and I went up to 350. Training days I was at 235, I went up to 500. And what you want to track here is, that's what we've upped the food by, what is my weight doing on those days? Because one of the goals of this diet break refeed is to replenish glycogen. And if you're taking in extra carbohydrates and they are getting turned into glycogen and stored in the muscles, that will pull water into the muscles as well, you will be heavier. So if you're replenishing glycogen, your weight will go up. And this is something you really need to watch out for on prep, because that's why you want to weigh people quite frequently throughout the days in peak week. And I had that last prep, and actually if we look at Mel's data as well, one of my clients, we can see that as she did her diet break refeed, her weight went from 59.95 down to 59.55, so she dropped about half a kilo there, and it wasn't until the day after those 3 refeed days that she finally bumped up in weight a little bit. So from Mel's data, we know that bumping up her carbs by this much isn't really enough to get her filled back out, basically. And you don't always see this with bikini competitors because some of them don't have a huge amount of muscle, they're quite slim. Mel has a decent amount of muscle, so she will need carbs to refeed, it's quite important. And we're sort of unsure right now actually if she'll end up in trained bikini or bikini, because she does have a decent amount of muscle. We're just gonna have to see, as she keeps trimming down, the fat keeps coming off, what's left, what's the look like as we advance, and we'll pick nearer the time. But that's really important. So we know actually for Mel, this probably isn't enough to fill her back up in peak week. And we have that data now, which is so important. We've almost had this little trial run where now we can see we're gonna have to do more than upping her carbs to 160 on rest days and 220 or even 200 on training days. She's gonna need more than that to fill back out. And that took 3 days and it only moved on the 4th day. And that's really important because you don't wanna be trying these things for the first time on peak week, because that's your one shot to get it right. And if you don't, then you're coming on stage either flat or you're coming on stage a bit too watery because you've overshot. So these are like trial runs. Like I mentioned earlier, this is not an opportunity to just binge and indulge and have a break. It has a purpose. That's pretty much it. We tracked it here. If we're lean enough, we will have another attempt at this nearer the show, and we will try higher amounts and really dial it in. That'll be really useful. Remember, these are the goals of a diet break or a refeed. You want to be dropping fatigue, and you want to be replenishing the glycogen and getting an idea of how you are going to react in peak week. And the way you're going to drop fatigue, firstly, you're going to up your carbs and replenish glycogen, which is going to help your training performance. Secondly, you're going to reduce the amount of cardio and movement and activity you're doing just to help you rest and recover. Thirdly, you're gonna pull back a little bit in training. So we had 2 workouts during this refeed, and we were operating at sort of 1 or 2 reps in reserve. We were pulling back, we weren't going to total failure. Again, that gives you a chance to just drop a bit of fatigue and come back strong basically, and allow you to keep training stimulus really high. And at some point, training performance is gonna drop. that's just the way it is when you're in a deficit for long enough. You're losing body fat and you have less padding and support around joints, and it's harder to move weight just mechanically. Eventually, you are gonna see that, but you wanna hold that off for as long as possible. And this is one of the methods to do that. Refeeds are important, but the important part about them is collecting the data and sticking to some sort of plan. It is not just an excuse to go totally off piste and binge and indulge. If you can fit it in, like we did, we went out for a meal with friends and fit in one off-plan meal, then that's fine. Just accept that that's not ideal data, because in peak week, you're not going to be doing that. You're just going to be upping your carbs through your normal foods that digest really, really well. But this is life. And we're not full-time pro bodybuilders where it actually really matters yet. Family is important. If you have good family and good friends, it's important to spend time with them and not just drop off the grid for 3, 4, 5 months of the year. So you can make it work, just be sensible with your choices and plan it all in. That's it, guys. I've got a new full day of eating video that is up now as well. I'll link to it, and I'll be doing another one quite soon because I'm about to drop calories again and I'm going to change the meals. So I'll show you how to really get the most bang for your buck out of meals. Subscribe, keep watching. I will always try and give as much useful information as I can. It's not just following me around. If you're going to do a refeed, hopefully this video has been helpful to show you the true purpose of it and what data to collect. All right, guys, speak to you in a bit.